Hey class, this is Mrs. Lynn. Welcome to another week of remote learning. I hope you guys had a great weekend. That you got to celebrate Mother's Day with your moms, and that you made it extra special for her. All right, so going into week number 8, you're going to be getting your final project for the school year. And because the week leading up to Memorial Day weekend is a really short week, I'm only going to assign this one assignment from here on out. So you have this one assignment to finish, but you'll have a couple extra days to get it done. Um, it will be assigned to you on May 12th, and it won't be due until May 21st. Okay, and we're actually done with our coding unit. So those of you who have been coding every week with me, great job. I know the last lesson was a little challenging, but those of you who were able to come to the extra Zoom meetings, hopefully you understood the concept better than when we started. So, but we're done with that project or that unit, and we're going to finish the year off with a Canva project. Now, Canva is a desktop publishing app that I've used before with the academy students. I don't know if I've introduced that to you guys yet. So, for some of you, when you get to the Canva website, you might have to go through the sign up process using your Google account. Now, this sign up process is actually super, super simple. So I'm not going to walk you through it. Also because I already have an account, so it's not going to let me, sign up again. But what you're going to do when you get to this page, and the link to this is in Google Classroom under that assignment, you're going to click on sign up. Okay, now for me, it's login. For you, probably because you don't have accounts already, you're going to click sign up. The trick with this is to, once you click the sign up button, to choose signing up with Google. Okay, and then you're going to use your Google account from school to sign up. Okay, so let me take you to that page. Now, again, our pages are going to look a little different because I already have an account and you don't. So you might have a couple extra steps to go before you get to where we're going to be. But when you're here, you're going to choose your GA school account to start. Okay, so for me, I'm going to choose actually, I'm going to choose my demo student account to show you what that looks like as a student. Okay, now again, I already have that account set up, so it's going to take me right into Canva. For you, there's just probably 2 extra steps that you have to click on. I think you have to tell them that you're a student, um, and I think even that's about it. So I don't think there's like too many different steps. Canva is a free app to use, so sometimes you might get a pop-up ad. If a ad were to pop up, just go ahead and click close and just ignore that. All right. So this should be the homepage that you land on as soon as you're signed in. We're for this week going to create a newsletter, and I'll kind of show you. I'll show you in here what you have to have in your newsletter. We're going to have a newsletter that basically serves as a school year in review. So starting from September of last year to right now during remote learning, you're going to try to use this newsletter to capture some highlights. Okay, so some of the things, and I'll type this up in your Google Classroom assignment page, some of the things that you can include on your slide or on your newsletter, other than the title and your name. Okay, you can have a little section about yourself, but to remember to keep any private information private. But you can have a little blurb about yourself, and then you can talk about what you have learned in some of your classes. So you might include what you've learned in ELA, what you've learned with Mr. Turk in math, religion, and so on. Uh, you can talk about what your favorite school activities were this year, any field trips that were extra memorable. and other things that you think would be good for a newsletter that you can then share with your family and friends. Your newsletter should also have at least 2 to 3 images that are related to your sections or your writing. And I'll show you how to do that once we're back in Canva. Okay, so let's go back there. All right, so on this page, under Design Anything, you're gonna see a search bar. And what you're gonna type in is newsletter. Okay, this will open up a bunch of templates that you can use or a blank page. Now, my recommendation is for you to start with a blank page, okay? Especially if you have a pretty good handle of what a newsletter typically look like. Now, everyone's newsletter will end up looking a little bit different depending on your design aesthetics, right? But a newsletter typically will have the same elements. There will be a name for the newsletter or the newspaper, right? You can also think of this as a magazine article, right? They usually have some sort of title on the very top. Yours will have a title plus your name, okay? And then in newsletters, you'll also see images. So like this one, I'm gonna actually minimize my video so you can see my page better. And this one that's called Classroom News, there's a big kind of attention grabbing image, and then maybe one other or two other images. Okay, like this one, Silk Closet has multiple images. Okay, there should be headings or article titles. Okay, so this is a little bit different than your newsletter title. These are headings, right, or article titles. And then depending on how you lay out your newsletter, you might have 3 to 5 to even more articles on that page. I, for this project, am requiring at least 5 little sections of text. Okay. Now, however you decide to lay that out is up to you. Again, it's everyone's design aesthetic is different. So, for example, you might have like that classroom article. You might have 3 little smaller articles or sections in the middle with 1 large or 2 larger articles on the bottom. Um, you might have something like this, where this is our family's Asia travel, where you have a kind of main section up here with 3 little articles underneath that. You might even have something like this, the Action Now one, where you have a whole sidebar, okay, that you set off in a shape box that's a different color than your main article. And then your sidebar can have 3 or 4 different articles. Okay, and then your main article being in the middle. So I'm going to let you kind of explore the different templates in order to find a design layout that you like. Some of these won't be applicable. I'm seeing some article cover or magazine covers, right? That's not going to be good for this project. Okay, so you're looking for things that look like a newspaper article or a newsletter. All right, so you can either start with a template, okay, in which case you're going to have to delete everything off as you go, right? Or my recommendation again is to start with a blank canvas. And that way you can just add elements and it's not going to be as confusing, okay? So let me get you started. I'm going to minimize my video so you can see my screen. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom to like 50% so you can see the pages a little bit better. The toolbars, the toolbar for Canva is mainly on your left, okay? But depending on what element you're trying to bring onto your page, let's say if I go to photos, another toolbar might appear on top. I think it's actually text. Okay, so once you have an element on the page, let's say a photo like this, another toolbar will appear on the top, okay, depending on what element you're importing, okay? So that's just a tip about toolbars. So under the photo tab, this is where you're going to get all your images or photographs that you want to import into your onto your page. Now, if for some reason you do a search for a image and you first can't find whatever you like, you can open up a Google tab and do a Google image search for that image. Okay, you can save that image onto your computer and then upload it back here. Okay, now I'll show you that in a little bit. But the simplest way is to just import a stock photo that Canva already has for you. Most of these photos will be free, but sometimes you'll see this little crown on the corner of your page, and that just means that it's a paid item and we don't need to use those. Okay, so paid items will appear on your final product with this watermark on it, and we just don't need to deal with that, right? So, all right, so let's do a quick search. Let's say I want a section on remote learning. Okay. And actually, remote learning is probably not going to turn up anything. Let's say you're doing an article on remote learning and you just want an image of like somebody working at a computer. Okay. So I typed in computer, and then these are the images that have shown up. Let's see. Let's find a free one. So here's a nice free image. Okay, so all you have to do is really click on it and the image will show up on your page, or you can click and drag it onto your workspace. Once you have inserted your image, you can then resize it. Okay, you can also crop it if you need to crop out certain parts of the image. Okay, and then you can play with all these like different filters. Um, Canva does let you have a lot of different options when it comes to photo editing, so you can play around with that. Okay. Um, you can even play with background removers, but that is actually a paid option. So let's not worry about that. Okay. So that's how you insert a photo. Now, if you did find a photo online that you want to use instead of the stock photos that Canva provides, you can scroll down to where it says uploads. And this is where you can upload an image or video from your computer. Okay, so if you click on that button, you'll basically be able to browse through your computer folders to an image that you want. Okay, so um, I have these are a lot of these are videos, but let's say I want a picture of these like Zoom meetings that we've had in school. I can just click on it, okay, and then click open, and it will be uploaded to Canva. Once it's uploaded to Canva, you can then click and drag it onto your workspace. Okay, so there's actually the image I liked for remote learning, and I'm just gonna pop it right on there. Okay, so that's images and uploading images using Canva. The next tool I wanted to show you is this Elements tab, and this one is very useful. You can use basically stickers or images, basically, right? Again, just as you would with an image that you found in under photos. These are like more clip art images, right? That you can insert into your project. Um, Anytime where there's a see all, when you click on it, you'll see a lot more images to do with that topic. So let's say for your newsletter, you want to talk about how the coronavirus has affected our learning. You can click on the see all, and then the free clip art images will appear. Okay. Okay, so some other elements I wanted to show you are shapes and frames. They're similar. Shapes is a really cool way for you to add these graphical elements to your newsletter or your project. Okay, so let's say you have a image of remote learning that you want to showcase on your newsletter. You can insert a shape first and then put your image on top of it. And so it will be like called out. Once you have inserted the shape, and I can see that it's selected right now, you can change the color of the shape up here, okay, to whatever it is that strikes your fancy. Um, let me see if there's a lighter one. I kind of like this green, okay. And you can then click your, drag your image on top of it. Now, notice how when I put my image or when I try to put my image onto the shape, it's actually under the green circle. And that's because I put in my shape first, okay? And then I put in the green circle. And this is what happens when we have our layers out of order. And it's a very important concept in desktop publishing, that when you're working with different layers or different objects that you're putting onto your page, the first thing you lay down will always be on the bottom. Okay. And then you basically add to the layers as you go. So because earlier I had put in my image first, it's going to show up on the bottom of this green circle. So just kind of imagine you're cutting and pasting a collage, right? In real life. So whatever you're pasting onto your paper first will be on the bottom of whatever comes next. So to fix that, because I want my image to appear on top of the circle, I'm going to click um, on one of those images. And in this case, I've clicked on the circle because it's easier to grab something that's on the very top layer. And then I'm going to go to where it says position. Okay. And I'm going to send it backwards. Okay. And that just means putting it basically one layer down. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click backward. Okay. And that should fix it. That should put the circle to the back of whatever layer I had laid down first. So now I can actually see my image that I've inserted, okay? And I can resize that image so that it would fit into my little shape box, okay? So hopefully that was easy to understand. Again, you can play with other elements that are available for free in Canva. There's little stickers that are animated that you can use. There's lines. So some of those templates that we saw earlier, um, the sections are divided or organized by lines. So if you want, you can, let me go back to elements. You can use some of these lines to help you organize your articles and help your reader navigate your articles better, right? So I can go ahead and click and drag lines onto this page. Now this was a white line. Okay, so I have to make sure I change the color of that line so it will show up. I'm going to go ahead and do this dark green since um, my shape box is green and I kind of just want everything to coordinate. All right, so that's how you insert lines. You can change the transparency of that line and to make it a little lighter green if you want. Okay, and just kind of play with the different features that come with your object or element. Let's see, what else can I show you? The title, oh, text. We haven't really talked about text yet. So text, we have to have, remember, a title for your newsletter, plus all the text that you would insert into your article, right? So what Canva has done really well is in addition to the normal ways of adding text, it's given you a whole catalog of different font combinations. So let me go over that really quick. So when you want to add a text box into your project, you can either do it by from scratch. So you can add a heading, which is more like a title, right? By just clicking on the button. And then you can then change that font to whatever you would like for your newsletter. Okay, so that's one way to kind of insert text into a Canva page, just by clicking the heading, okay, or subheading, depending on how big you want your text to be. Okay. Once you have inserted that heading or subheading or body text, you can again change the font size, the font color, anything that you would normally expect to be able to do in a Google Doc. Okay. But the really cool thing about Canva is that in addition to being able to just start from scratch, like inserting text boxes from scratch, Canva has a huge catalog of these font combinations. So their designers have put together these combinations um, of different fonts that look really good when they're put together. Okay, so you can try to utilize that for some of your sections. For example, if you want to include a quote of some sort in your newsletter, you can find text combinations like this, okay, where the quote is in one font, okay, and then the person saying the quote is in a different font. Okay, so when you click on that box, automatically the text will be inserted to your page. Okay, and then you can move it. You can make changes to the text as you wish. So to make changes to the text, you would just double click on the box. Okay, and then you can highlight it. You can delete the whole thing and write your own text. Okay, so this is a sample quote you can insert onto your page. Okay. Okay, so play with that. I love this feature because it just automatically makes everything seem very professional. The fonts are chosen to look like the fonts that you would see in a newspaper or a magazine article. And you don't really have to do a whole lot of thinking, right? Everything just automatically look good together already because that's how they've designed it. So this video, as well as the directions, will be posted on Google Classroom. Just make sure before you turn it in to proofread all your work so that there's no typos or grammatical errors. Make sure your punctuation is all correct, and then make sure you have the required elements. So the theme again is kind of like a school year in review. You don't have to keep your articles to just what you have done or achieved in school. You can talk about what you might have achieved milestones wise outside of school, in case you want to talk about maybe a special birthday. Maybe if you volunteer outside in the community and you want to talk about that, you can. If you play a sport that's not done at school, but that you want to highlight, you can definitely do that. Any special trips that you went on during this school year before the shutdown, you can highlight those. I'm looking for at least 5 sections of text, okay, whether that's a quote that you want to put in or all little articles or recaps of whatever it is that you want to highlight. And I'm looking for at least 2 to 3 images on your newsletter. Okay, remember we want something that's visually appealing. We want something that's school appropriate. So definitely if you need ideas, look at the templates, but it should be a fun project. It shouldn't take you very long. If you want to add a page to your newsletter, so let's say you have more than 4 things that you want to talk about or 5 things you want to talk about, and you're running out of space, you can go ahead and add a new page, and that's fine. All right. All right, so how do you share this or turn this in with me? That's the last thing I'm going to talk about. Let's say you're done with this project and you're ready to turn it in. There's 2 options. The first option is by sharing a link. So you're going to click share. And then right under where it says share your design, there's a line of text that says share a link to edit. You're going to click on it and change it to share a link to view because you don't want me to be able to go in and mess up your work, right? Not that I would do that, but you just don't, it's a good habit to change your sharing options to view only. So you're gonna change that to view only, and then you're gonna click copy. Okay. And once it's copied, it's gonna tell you that it's ready to share. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into a Google Classroom, and I'm gonna go to Demo Students Google Classroom. I'm gonna show you how to upload that link to the assignment page. Now, demo student doesn't have that particular assignment under his classwork, but we're just going to go into really any assignment. So let's pretend that this is where you're going to open up your assignment. Okay. So we're going to pretend that this will say remote learning week 8 and 9 newsletter with Canva, right? You're going to look for this section where it says your work, add or create. This is where you're going to click add. Okay. And then because we've copied a link, you're going to go ahead and click link and right click and paste that link. Okay. So remember, we already copied that link in Canva. So now we're just pasting it into this link section. And then we're going to click add link. Okay. It'll take us a few seconds, but now this link is right there. I can see that it's from Canva. Okay. Another way to add or turn in your work is by downloading a copy to your computer first. And actually, I kind of prefer this method just because then you'll have a good copy of your work on your computer at home. So now, if you're using a Chromebook that you borrowed from school, that might be a little different. I don't know if it's going to let you download anything onto the Chromebook itself. You might be downloading it to your Google Drive. Okay, so you're just going to have to figure out if you're doing this download as PDF option, where that file will end up. Okay, it just depends on what computer you're using. So when I click on this download button, it's going to default to PDF print, which is what we want. And then we're just going to click download. Okay. It's going to take a few seconds to kind of convert my files into a PDF. And then it's going to show up on my computer. It's going to show up on the lower left. Okay. But you can also go into your file folders on your computer, and it's usually downloading to a downloads folder, and you can find your files that way. Okay. But mine is right here. So then all I have to do is, again, go back to my Google Classroom under that assignment page. And then instead of adding a link like I have done before, I can now add a file. Okay. Um, so right here, I'm going to add a file. And then I'm just going to click and drag my file onto that little pop-up window. Okay. And then click upload. Now, again, yours might end up in Google Drive if you're using a Chromebook from school. Mine's just usually in my downloads folder on my computer. Okay, so now I can see that I've not only uploaded a link, I've also uploaded the PDF version of my file. And then I'm ready to turn it in. So don't forget to do this last part of hitting that button, because otherwise I still won't be receiving your work. Okay, so make sure you turn in the actual assignment. It's going to say that it's submitted, because right now I can unsubmit it, right? That means I've actually turned it in. All right, so hopefully that was pretty straightforward and that you have some fun with this project. It shouldn't take you very long, like I said. If you do need to use a template, feel free. It's a little bit extra work to use a template because then you have to delete elements, right? But however you decide to go about this project is fine with me. Remember, this project is not due until May 21st. If you were finished early, remember to check your Power School for any missing or late or incomplete assignments. And that way you can get those turned in by May 21st. I am not, I've been telling the other classes as well, I'm not going to penalize you for turning in something late as long as it's turned in a the quality that I'm expecting. So if you're late turning something in, that's fine. I understand that everyone has circumstances that they can't avoid during this time that you might be dealing with at home. So if it's late, that's fine. You won't lose marks. If the work is of good quality and you're not missing elements or anything that's required, then you'll get full credit. Okay. So just make sure you get that turned in by May 21st. All right, so I'm going to let you go. And remember, you can always reach out to me during the week by asking for a Zoom meeting. I will have that Friday check in again with you guys. So you can also bring your Canva questions there or any coding questions that you might have. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and have fun with this project. Bye.